Hi, hello and welcome on stage 2 of Republika Thessaloniki. I am Christina and I'm very excited as well as honored to present to you our first speaker here on stage 2. Ilias Paraskevopoulos is a local of Thessaloniki. He lives here and he works here as a family therapist. Sorry. And for the persons of you who were part of Republika Dublin or who have been part of the live stream, maybe you will remember our first talk there on stage 1, which was held by Brian Duggan and Chiara Sherlock. They were talking about psychedelic experiences in a digital age. And here we have... They had a very positive approach on the topic, but here we will have a look on the other side of the medal. Ilias will talk about his experience, as well as opportunities and concerns when it comes to the use of online counseling tools for active drug users. Welcome, Ilias. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Christina. Hello, everybody. As Christina said, my name is Ilias. And I'm working for the non-profit organization KTA, which is the largest rehabilitation and reintegration network in Greece. And next to addiction therapy, I also focus in my work on online counseling and counseling tools. And this interest started in 2004. I randomly discovered the German online counseling website Kids Hotline. And I was so fascinated about this new type of work, working online in counseling. So I started to work for them as a volunteer online counselor. And in the beginning, the most interesting thing for me was that while living in Greece, I was able to help and communicate with youngsters in a totally different country. And it was not only me who lived and worked in a different country. I had a colleague at Kids Hotline who she lived in India. And we worked together supporting youngsters in Germany, Switzerland and Austria. And this is somehow for me, this shows that online tools have no borders and can connect people worldwide, and not only online tools like the illegal drug markets on the darknet who connect drug dealers with drug users, but also online tools are it's a possible way to connect professionals of a helping system, like we did at a project called drughelp.eu. Which is supported by the way of the Council of Europe, the Pompidou Group, and it's one online tool, one self-assessment tool, one tool in 8 languages. It's a cooperation of experts in 7 different countries. I will talk later about this self-assessment tool for drug users. Let's take a closer look to what we call internet-based tools in the harm reduction field, which seem to be also highly recommended for other target groups who seek mostly anonymous for help. And there are 3 main categories with an increasing level of intensity. First of all, we have the self-assessment tools, like the Drug Help project, with automated personalized feedback and without direct intervention of any counselor. We could call these tools click and read tools, because you have to answer some certain questions and then you get some questions about your drug behavior, and then you get your personalized feedback, your result. These tools require very low commitment of the user. Then we have the self-help tools. It's a multi-session tool, the self-help tools. The user visits the website more than once, maybe every day. He has a private account. He collects there his personalized information, experience, writes maybe also a diary, and is somehow able to follow and to observe his own drug behavior. Some of these self-help tools also involve an intervention, the intervention of counselors, like the DrugCom tool Quit the Shit is a German tool for quitting cannabis use. Some are totally automated without any intervention of a counselor, like the Dutch Jelinek tool. And we could call these tools click, read, and write tools. And then we have the individual online counseling tools that are counselor guided, which requires a quite high commitment on behalf of the user. And online counseling is a multi-session personalized counseling process in text form. We could call them write, read, act, react tools. And all these kind of tools are mostly based on CBT. CBT means cognitive behavioral therapy, based on motivational therapy, and of course they are or they should be evidence-based. For example, the Drug Help project is this self-assessment tool is based on the questionnaire DoDIT from the Karolinska Institute in Oslo. And we could say that it's an effort to transfer professional therapeutic face-to-face tools into a digital surface. And the main purpose of all these tools is to increase self-awareness through self-observation and to challenge or to mobilize people to change. A lot of people think of video chatting when they hear about internet-based interventions, something like Skyping, which is usually not the case. For a video counseling session, the clients always have to make sure that their place is secure and quiet enough. And video chatting is a so-called real-time tool, and experience shows that you need clients with a high sense of responsibility to work with this. This is the reason why video chat counseling is a good tool to use during addiction therapy or in a rehabilitation phase. But when we want to use an online tool for active drug users, video sessions don't seem to be very attractive to the clients. And of course, video chatting would not be considered suitable also for a first contact with a client due to its non-confidential or discreet character. Also, a lot of people, mostly youngsters, believe that phone counseling is old-fashioned and not attractive these days. Phone counseling, like we here in Greece, we have at Kethia the hotline number 1145 for addiction issues. And the experience is that mostly parents call this hotline. Young people don't seem to use it. And maybe you also notice that nowadays there's generally an increasing preference in writing than talking on the phone. And maybe you have also this experience. I don't know who of you prefer to write or to type a message than to call a phone on phone. Only one prefers, two, okay, three. Let's say this is 50% here. And I believe it's because nowadays we are constantly available on so many levels, mainly because of the internet. And this may be the reason why we need the freedom to answer in an asynchronous way and not exactly immediately when someone calls us. So when we write or text someone, we also have more time to think about how we want to express ourselves. We have the freedom to answer when we are ready, and of course it's a smart way of being more spontaneous. So most online tools are indeed text-based. These online text-based tools are particularly attractive for active drug users because they prefer to seek for help while remaining totally anonymous. They fear, of course, the potential negative consequences, and they are often ashamed since they don't want to get stigmatized. Text-based tools give the user also a bigger distance, and that's good for their safety feeling. And this bigger distance is also useful, it's a useful effect also in therapy, which I would like to demonstrate with these pictures from my famous comic called Zoom. Just to have a feeling what distance means. Just focus on these pictures and you see, if you step back, this is something like every time you step back, you get a new frame. You could say you reframe your reality here. As a famous saying goes, I can't see the forest because of all these trees. And indeed, sometimes you see better when you take a step back. So if we go back and step back, you get always a new reality, a new frame, a new point of view, and every new point of view is the best start for change. And this goes on. Just to show you how important it is to get a distance, and writing gives you a distance. Through writing down their reflective thoughts, their emotions and their drug-related behavior, the user slowly acquires an external look of their life situation, so they are able to recognize behaviors that they may like to change. And a better self-image helps the promotion of self-awareness and change. An important aspect of why most online tools consist of text-based interventions is the practical asynchronous way of communication. This is also a reason why most online counselors try to avoid live online chats. The online chat is a synchronous way of communication. You need to be there. You can't handle two chats at the same time, like two phone calls at the same time. And for example, for a group chat, you need two counselors because a chat often has a very fast flow and you can easily lose control by writing and typing at the same time. So the asynchronous way of communication seems to be the best for online counseling. The asynchronous communication is the way in which most online counseling forums work. An online forum is a virtual space where users can write and discuss about a specific topic or problem. And so the professional is not alone and mostly works as a group leader, like in a peer-to-peer group in real life. We could generally say that an answer or comment from a professional in a counseling forum counts as a quick response when it is posted within 48 hours. And this is the main reason why internet tools are generally not suitable for acute crisis interventions. And the reduction to written communication can also be a hindrance. The exact formulation of a problem in text form is not always easy. And people, for example, with dyslexia can hardly benefit from text-based online tools. Also, wrong formulation could lead to misunderstandings if we have in mind that in a direct conversation, 80% of the communicative information is non-verbal. It's the voice, it's the mimicry, it's the body language. But on the other hand, as Nicola Döring said, if the lack of non-verbal elements in the online communication were really a strong deficit, then we would probably fall back on the technically available audiovisual tools. And she said that in 2003. And nowadays, with 4G connections, ADSL, we still use non-verbal communication, online communication. There's also the idea of email counseling, something which comes to the mind of lots of people when they think about online tools, especially in case of where there is the need of the use of text-based tool. But mailing is not secure enough for supporting active drug users. Of course, some users won't hesitate to get in contact with us by emailing. But we as the professionals have the obligation to protect our clients from any possible risk of exposure. This way of thinking increases our validity in the drug scene and makes it possible for us to have a relationship of trust with the drug scene and the relationship of trust with anonymous drug user. And I think that is not only true for active drug users, but generally in online psychotherapy or online counseling. And that's because a lot of people use email software on their computer, like Microsoft Outlook, which means that all the correspondence is downloaded on their hard disk, and probably each of the particular computer's users could also read these emails. And a lot of people also allow their home web browser to remember the password of their online mail account, which means that anyone who uses the same computer could get their classified communication. And of course, generally, emailing is not the best way to protect your data. If you remember the email incident involving Hillary Clinton. And that's the reason why most online tools are or should be web-based. This means that all the communication and information shared is saved on a so-called cloud, where the client and the professional meet in a secure virtual forum or room by using a username or a password. Well, another important security issue for working online with drug users is the anonymity of the internet. On the one hand, the clients feel secure enough to talk, or in our case, to write about their drug consume, but on the other hand, you never know how valid the information they give is. Even basic information like gender, age is not guaranteed to be real. So you have to deal with virtual identities that are not always identical with the real-life identity of the user, and so professional can never be entirely sure of the whole picture. So there's a great risk that situations or behaviors are presented minimized or dramatized, mostly when you work with teenagers. And because of the anonymity, it is not easy for the professional to build a tight relationship with the user, which often can be one reason why active drug users stop the cooperation more often or more easily in high commitments online tools. I will let this off. And now back to the drug help project. I said before, some datas. Of course, it's, well, the anonymous assessment tool drug help showed after a few months, as expected, that this kind of online tools are very attractive to party drug users or to cannabis users. Similar results are also indicated by the German site drugcom.de or the Jelinek organization. Of course, it's too early for serious research results, but here's some numbers just to have a small overview. It's about the Greek version of drug help, of the drug help project, and we have 50% of the users in total declare cannabis as their main drug. And another 29% declares alcohol as their main drug, but also uses cannabis or party drugs like cocaine or ecstasy from time to time. 18% were under 19 years old. And the system tool result shows that 20% of the drug users who took the test do drugs occasionally from time to time. 57% do drugs quite often, but they don't seem to be addicted. And quite about 23% do drugs on a regular basis and are probably dependent. And if we focus now on the users who are not addicted, the 20% and the 57%, we could say that 77% of all these drug users would probably not knock on our counseling center's door. And if we also keep in mind the early age of the drug users, we could say that these online tools are an important part of prevention and a great opportunity to get in touch with drug users who won't call us for any appointment at the counseling center. So you could say that these online interventions seem to be quite important support and help for drug demand reduction, but of course they cannot replace face-to-face treatment. but it is an opportunity for the drug users to get in contact with drug addiction experts without exposing themselves. And a lot of people who do these online tools don't need any addiction therapeutic or counseling program. They just do the test and leave satisfied by reducing or quitting their use. And closing, I would like to say a few words about the Black Sheep project. This is our next project. At KTA, we will start crowdfunding at Act for Greece in the next months. This will be a network, a platform where a lot of non-profit organizations work together, will be connected and will offer forums, different forums for teenagers with different topics, for example, for sexuality topics for teenagers, cannabis use with another organization, or never-ending online gamers. Every group will have its own forum, and the professionals of this non-profit organization will work together. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ilias.
Thank you.
Do you want to do that?
No, no. It was in the middle, but I let it off. Okay.
So now is the time for you to ask questions if you want to. Do we have some? Just raise your hand. No. Well, then I suppose it was everything was completely clear that you said.
Okay. Thank you.
So thank you all. We will have a 10 minutes break now and continue with the last talk of today. So thank you again for being here, and enjoy the rest of the day and the rest of Republica in Thessaloniki. Thank you.